back stretches are great for loosening up a really tight lower back, and we're going to do them all lying down. So have your mat, a head cushion, and either a Remedial band, or if you don't have a band, then find yourself a scarf. So come to lying on your mat, whatever you've chosen to lie on, and get yourself into a good relaxation position. It's always worth getting yourself into good posture before you start. So we'll start stretching out the piriformis muscle, which is a deep muscle within the buttocks and gets very tight and pulls on the lower back. So bring your left foot, left ankle to the outside of your right thigh, take hold of your left knee and draw up across the body to the opposite shoulder. So it's diagonally up across the body. So it's not going towards the right hip, it's going towards the right shoulder. Keep your shoulders relaxed and just draw the knee up across the body as much as you're getting a good stretch. If it's very tight, don't make it too strong. You should be able to relax into this and use your breath to release and relax into it. So we're just going to hold each of these stretches for about half a minute. And if you find that it's releasing at that level, then you can just gradually encourage the knee up a tiny bit further, but always at a level where you can stay relaxed, but you're getting a decent stretch. So this is getting the piriformis muscle, which lies underneath the glute muscles, the main buttock muscles. Now, if that is strong enough, stay there. But if you want to take that a little bit further, a little bit stronger, now bring your right knee up. Keep hold of your left knee, but now hold on to your left foot with your right hand. And using your right knee, encourage their left leg up towards your chest. Again, keeping your shoulders relaxed. And you get a slightly different stretch. It's targeting a slightly different area within the buttock. If you want to do some ankle circles on your right ankle while you're here, then do so. Just do a few circles in each direction. Again, we're holding each one for about half a minute. We'll stay here for a couple more breaths. Still your right foot and use your right knee to encourage your left leg up towards your chest. Getting as much of a stretch as you can cope with. And then let's do the other side. So drop your right foot down, release your left foot. Make sure that you get back into your feet and knees being hip width apart, and then bring your right foot, right ankle to the outside of your left thigh. Take hold of your right knee and draw up across your body, diagonally up to the left shoulder. Keep the shoulders relaxed. Remember, each side will be slightly different. You might well be tighter on one side than the other. And I say hold this here for about 30 seconds. If you've drawn the knee up a little bit more, then actually you've gone into a different stretch and you can hold it for a little bit longer. But don't really hold it for much less than 30 seconds, otherwise the muscle doesn't get the message from the brain to release. And use your breath, relax into it. The breath is a great way of helping release tension. If that's strong enough, stay there. But if you want to take it a bit further, then bring your left knee up. Keep hold of your right knee and now hold on to your right foot and using your left thigh just above the knee to help draw your right foot towards your chest. Again, another stretch. It can be very strong. Just relax into this. Let's do some ankle circles on the left ankle here. Ankles. Our feet stay in shoes for so long that we don't really get much movement in the ankles, so it's always good to do these if you've got the chance. And then still your foot and use your left thigh, left knee to encourage your right leg up towards your chest. Keeping the shoulders relaxed, keeping everything relaxed. Try and get rid of any tension in the body. And then drop your left foot down, release your right foot. So we're going to then go on to the hip rolls. I'm going to do them two different ways. We're going to start with your feet together in the center, so your legs stay together as one unit. We'll do one each way with your legs like this, and then I'll show you a variation. So keeping your shoulders nice and square on the mat, let's take our knees and our hips over to the left. So your right hip is going to roll off. You're going to keep your right knee in line with the underneath knee, so you're not going to let the knees slide apart like that. So lengthen that top knee away from the hip and you get a really good stretch. So my right shoulder blade hasn't come off the mat. I roll my head the opposite way to get in a bit of a stretch in my neck and relax into this. Keep my tummy pulled in and I've got a nice stretch through my back actually going all the way up to the rib cage and all the way through the hip. Keep lengthening that top knee away from the hip without arching your back, and stay here for a few breaths. Now to come back to the center, pull in your core, get your back onto the mat from the top down to the bottom, and come back to the center, and let's go the other way. So keep the knees together, take the knees and the hips over to your right, and your left hip will come off the mat, and your left shoulder blade will stay on the mat. And keep lengthening that top knee away from this hip, and so getting a nice stretch all the way through here and along towards the knee. And relax into this. Just check you're not holding on to tension in the knees, and make sure your shoulders feel nice and relaxed as well. Keep the face nice and soft, and use your breath just to relax into this. So depending on how tight you are, you can stay here for a few breaths or just a couple of breaths. If one side is tighter than the other, then just stay on that side for a little bit longer. So think about what your body needs and adapt accordingly, and then bring your knees and hips back to the center. So if you want to take that a little bit stronger, let's bring the right leg over the left thigh. So now the back of the knee is over the thigh, and I'm going to take the knees and the hips over to the left. My right hip comes off, but my right shoulder blade stays on the mat. And this is a slightly stronger stretch. So if it's too strong for you, then go back to the first stretch. But if it's comfortable, then just relax into this. And that's a nice stretch. But if you wanted to take this a bit further, then you can put your left hand behind your right knee and just draw that right hip off a little bit more, but as only if it means that your right shoulder can stay on the mat. And use your breath, relax into this. There's never any arching in the back. The upper body is just staying where it is on the mat, and you're isolating the lower body away from the upper body. So to come back to the center, pull in your core. Think about getting your back onto the mat from the top down to the bottom, and you bring your knees and hips back to the center. Keep the legs crossed as they are, and take the knees and hips over to your right and roll your head to the left. But my left shoulder blade staying relaxed on. If you need to adjust your head cushion, then do so. So my upper body staying relaxed. I'm just isolating the lower body away from the upper body. Now I've got my right leg on top of my left here, so I don't need my hand. I'm getting a slightly stronger stretch down the outside of my left thigh this way. So relax into that for a few breaths. So come back to the center, pulling in your core, getting your back onto the mat from the top down to the bottom. And then let's cross our legs the other way. So now my left leg is hanging over my right thigh, and I'm going to take my knees and hips back over to the left, roll my head to the right, relax the legs, let them be heavy and relaxed. So now my left leg is over my right thigh, and I'm now getting that stretch down the outside of my right thigh. And relax into this for a few breaths. No arching in the back, keep your core engaged. Let the legs be relaxed and heavy. A couple more breaths here. And coming back to the center, pulling in the core, getting your back onto the mat. Bring the knees and hips back to the center, and then let's take the knees and the hips over to the right, roll my head to the left, keep my left shoulder blade on the mat. And this is the stretch when you've got this leg on top. If you want to take it a bit further, I'm now going to put my right hand behind my left knee, so I can draw this left hip off a bit more, but only if I can keep my left shoulder blade where it is. There's no point if you come off because you're just rolling onto the side. You want to isolate the lower body away from the upper body, and this is when I get a really nice stretch through my hip and up into my back. So I'm just going to do one each way, but if you have one side that's particularly tight and you want to ever go back and do the other side again, or one of those stretches again, then always do that. So I'm just showing you what you can do, and then you can adapt it to your own body. So to come back to the center, always pulling in the core, never arching the back, getting your back onto the mat from the top down to the bottom, and then uncross your legs. Step back with your feet and knees hip width apart. So we've done the piriformis and the glute stretch, which really loosen up the buttock muscles, which have a direct link to your lower back. So if you've got very tight buttock muscles, it pulls on your lower back. The hip rolls get some nice stretching and flexibility in the lower spine. And now the leg stretches also have a direct influence on your lower back. So it's really important to do these as well. So get your band or your scarf. We're going to start with the right foot. So wrap the band or the scarf around your sole of your right foot. If you can have it more around the ball of your foot and your toes, you get a bit more of a stretch. Hold the band one end in each hand and have your elbows relaxed. So if you have your arms away, then it tends to tense your shoulders. So just relax your shoulders, bring the elbows down. The band can be quite strong, so you can have it with a lot of tension or less tension, depending on how tight you are and how much support you need from the band. You want to be as straight behind the knee as you possibly can be. So reach away through your heel as if you're getting your heel up to the ceiling and your toes down towards your upper body. It's really important to stretch behind the knee because your hamstring, the back of your thigh, attaches below the knee and your calf muscles, or one of your calf muscles, attaches above the knee. So you need to keep stretched behind that knee. You want to always watch your wrist alignment, so you want to try and keep the back of your hand on a line with the back of your forearm, so you're not cocking your wrist like that or forward, so you're not putting any pressure through your wrist. And now, working from the outside of the ankle, so not the whole leg, just turn the sole of the foot inwards. So I've now got a nice stretch going down the outside of my right shin, also going in a little bit into behind my knee. So if you don't have a particular stretch here, then you can go back to the one we were doing before. But a lot of people get a good stretch here. I'm going to hold this for a little while. So there are 5 stretches on each side. Again, you can do them more than once. I'm just going to do them once today. Let's go on to another stretch. So now I'm going to take both hands into my right hand because I'm stretching my right leg, and I'm going to bring my left hand here just to keep my pelvis stable, and I'm going to point my right foot and take my right leg out to the side away from me. I'm also going to relax my left knee out a bit. It helps counterbalance the pelvis to a certain extent, although you will lose your neutral pelvis, but also I'm getting a little bit of a stretch on the inside of my thigh here. So just encourage the inner thighs away from each other, get a good stretch. So my right foot is pointed. I've also got this right leg turned out a little bit from the upper thigh to get a bit more of a stretch. And I can bring that right knee up a little bit towards my right shoulder if I want to get the stretch a little bit longer. So everyone has different areas that you feel the tension most. So all these different stretches you can do on your own, but all these leg stretches have a direct influence on your lower back because they all attach around the pelvis. So now to bring this right leg back to the center, I'm going to bend my knees slightly so there's no pulling on my lower back until its legs back above the hip. Then I'm straightening it again, and I've brought my left knee back up in line with my left hip. And now I'm going to take the band in the opposite hand to the leg I'm stretching. So in this case, the left, my right hand back by my side to help keep my shoulders square. And I'm just going to draw my right leg across without bringing the right hip off very much. The foot is back to being flexed. It's quite a strong stretch. So reach away through the heel. Watch my wrist alignment here. And now this might well be strong enough, in which case then hold this here. But if you want to take it further, I'm now going to use the band for support and let the right hip come off. Relax the left knee out to the side. And I'm now got this leg parallel over to here. So again, watching my wrist alignment, reaching away through my heel, and it can be quite a strong stretch. It only goes far as you feel comfortable. So if this is too strong and you want to keep the leg up here, then that's absolutely fine. So as you start to loosen up, you can get a bit more of a stretch. So I've now got a very good stretch through the back of my right leg, all the way into my right hip, going all the way up into my lower back. So hold and relax this for a few more breaths. And then to come back to the center, pull in your core, bend your knee into your chest to get your back onto the mat. Then there's no pulling on the lower back. And let's do the other leg. But keep your right foot in the band until you've swapped over. So I've now got the band around my left foot, and I've dropped my right foot back in line with my right hip. And then use the band to encourage my left leg above the hip as much as possible. So I'm back to holding the band one end in each hand, so I've got equal force either side of my foot here. And relax into this, make sure the shoulders are relaxed, the elbows are relaxed onto the mat. You're not creating any tension anywhere else. And then working from the outside of the ankle, not the whole leg, I'm going to turn the sole of my left foot inwards. I'm getting a nice stretch down the outside of my left ankle, going down to the outside of my left shin. Again, if that's not much of a stretch and you're getting a good stretch before, then go back to the previous stretch. So now let's stretch the inner thigh on the left-hand side. So as it's my left leg, I'm going to take the band into my left hand. If I have my fingers on top and thumb underneath, then it helps keep my wrist alignment better. And point your left foot and take your left leg out to the side away from you. Relax the right knee out as well. Get a nice stretch on the inside of the thigh. And turn the left leg out a little bit from this upper thigh here. Increase the stretch slightly, and also I can bring my left foot a little bit nearer to my left shoulder, but keep this knee relaxed out and keep using your core to help stabilize the pelvis as much as possible. Getting a nice stretch on the inside of my left thigh here. And then to come back to the center, bend the knees slightly until that leg is back above the hip, and then straighten it again. I've brought my right knee back up in line with that hip. And now I'm taking the band into the other hand. So my fingers on top, thumb underneath, the foot is back to being flexed. And I'm going to isolate the leg across the body without really bringing off this left hip too much to begin with. And I get quite a strong stretch here. The heel is reaching away, the toes down towards my chest. Hold this here for a few breaths, and that might well be quite strong enough, in which case hold it there. If not, then relax the right knee out of the way and let the left hip come over, supporting the leg with the band, watching my wrist alignment, keeping my left shoulder relaxed where it is, so I'm not rolling over. I'm getting a really good stretch all the way through my back, through my left hip, through the back of my left leg. Reaching the heel away and just relaxing into this. So the band is quite strong. That's where the bands are good, as opposed to a scarf, which works quite well. But if you can get a band, then it's even better, because there's a certain amount of elasticity and it gives you a certain amount of support. So relax here for a few breaths. And then to come back to the center, pull in your core, bend your knee to your chest. There's no pulling and arching on your back. And come back to the center and then take the band away and drop your foot down. So those are some stretches you can do for your lower back if it's particularly tight, and you can do them lying down, which is even better. So if you're very tired, it's actually very relaxing. There are very, very few people who find those stretches too strong, and if by some fluke that they have aggravated your lower back, then you need to go and see somebody, gets a bit more of an expert advice on it, because it means that you might well have something that's slightly out of alignment, or you might have some inflammation in your lower back. But for general loosening up of a very tight lower back, then those exercises are absolutely brilliant.